over, but it just began. They said club space like Bad Boys 2. You can see the snow bunnies do what bad girls do. That's see, they had girl too. Scooped up, they had the keys to something fast, so flew.
Bring him up. Is he on?
Yes, I am.
All right, brother. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining me here. This is we're live here on 1010 AM. That's the sister station, and to WOLB in DC. And you were just on the Carl Nelson show yesterday. So let me just welcome you from all the way from Shreveport, right? You still Shreveport? In the area, kind of, sort of.
That's always going to be home base, no matter what happens.
Right.
I'm not really there anymore, but
right.
Definitely you can say I'm out of Shreveport, Louisiana.
All right, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Like I said, so first, brother Jason, and Black first to you. Let me just
first as always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Many people who may not necessarily be aware of this brother, he came out with some films, and he has a large support base online and offline, just, putting out some really good content in terms of awakening our consciousness issues that affect black people all throughout the world. And he's really, brought up some very powerful topics that I believe that things that I'm interested in listening to as anyone, that desires to know what's going on, truly know what's going on. We got to gravitate towards those that are doing, conscious raising work, brother Jason. So welcome first and foremost, brother. So what's going on, brother? I was in New York for the release of Race War. Good showing.
Yes, sir. It was a really good showing in New York. We had a sellout event.
Right.
It went really well, so I was very pleased with that. Today, we're going to be opening up here around the country. So you're going to be seeing us in Atlanta, D.C., Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, Houston, going to Los Angeles this weekend, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
Norfolk and Louisville are going to be opening up here. And another showing again in New York, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
The people who missed it last time.
Okay.
There's going to be another screening in New York City. So
right.
Definitely it's been a big thing to deal with here, and we're very glad to have as much wide appeal on this as we do.
Certainly. So just give the listening audience, just go kind of back a little bit and just share, the process towards this, and then we can dwell on Race War. But, first you came out with 7 a.m. So what was, what was your vision when you first came out with that?
Well, the first thing is, as a lifelong entrepreneur myself, and understanding that this is at the heart of black people's problems in America and society, period, that they hate us because we're black, but they're able to victimize us because we're poor. So I can't control whether someone hates me or not, but nor do I care, but I can certainly control whether or not they can harm me. And if you are poor people will always be victimized by people who are not. So when you realize that our lack of business ownership, which is control of capital, is at the root of our inability to control these situations, then you realize you have to get your arms around that first. Everything else is really secondary. Education, religion, politics, all of those are, as Dr. Claude Anderson has said, are built on the firmament, the foundation of an economy. If you have no economy, you have no control of those other things.
Right.
So 7 a.m. was my attempt, because nobody else was doing it. Black Enterprise Magazine, which has really become oxymoronic at this point, it had checked out of that business a while ago.
Wow.
These old black publications are really just trying to find a white corporation to purchase them. and they're no longer serving black people's interests. And the reason I bring that up is because Black Enterprise magazine did a story about Issa Rae when she was on YouTube, and she was able to raise $50,000 in crowdfunding for Awkward Black Girl. Well,
Wow.
7 a.m. raised twice that much money talking about black entrepreneurship and Black Enterprise, your so-called flagship publication of black business, they talked about Issa Rae, but did not talk about the first documentary in history that talked about black entrepreneurship.
That's deep. That's deep.
So
Yes, sir.
who are they really trying to serve is the question you have to ask yourself. That wasn't accidental. It's time to start saying, whose side are they really on? So when I did that project, nobody else was doing it. Nobody else was talking about it. And I really just made it my personal mission to see that would happen. And it came together. I didn't get to speak to everybody that I wanted to, but I spoke to everybody I needed to. And I was very proud of that work. I would have been happy if I had never made another film again after 7 a.m. I would have been just as fine with that. I'm glad I've made more. But I said everything in 7 a.m. that I wanted to say.
Right. So, and then on to gentrified, talking about the gentrification. Well, you use the term gentrified as if it's done, right?
Well, because it's ethnic cleansing.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's what
sir.
it is. It's a situation where, as black people, our lack of using proper vernacular on these issues is a really big problem because there are many places in America that are gentrified. And by that, I mean you've reached a critical tipping point where there is no return. In places like California, black people have reached a critical tipping point. There is no return in California. You're done. Certain parts of New York City, for example, Manhattan, which is where Harlem is, but for people who do not live in Harlem, you really see Harlem as an anachronism or out of its proper place, because you think of Harlem as this giant black enclave, and in reality today, the idea that Harlem is the hood and white folk are scared to go there, nothing could be further from the truth. You can go down to the Apollo Theater on any given day. It doesn't matter what day you go. And you've been there plenty of times, so you know I'm telling the truth. You can go in front of the Apollo Theater on any given day, and you will see half as many white folks standing there to get in as black folks. So this idea that that's a black enclave anymore, that's really just an urban myth, if I can use that phrase. That's really just an urban myth at this point. It is a place that has more black people than other places in New York or Manhattan. But essentially, we're going to come back here in 25 years when you and I are really elderly. And Harlem, as we know it, is going to look like Chelsea. And that's going to be just the bottom line. Our lack of doing what we talked about in 7 a.m. is what has led to my second film, Gentrified. 7 a.m. was saying what needs to be done. Gentrified explained what happens if you do not.
Right. Yeah, so let's go in and, actually some callers are up already, but let me I want to see who's calling in. We ain't letting everybody in. We don't waste no time. I know how you do it.
Bring the band. Let them all in.
So a few people probably saw, thank you, who we had up, but
that's perfect.
it's definitely
Bring them all in.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's share. Well, let me just bring one of the callers up first and see what he has to say, and we'll get into race war. All right, and we'll talk about some of the participants that were in that as well. Hold on, please. Let me get line one. Let's get Mark up. Mark, are you lit?
Hey, how
here?
you doing, brothers? I'm coming in.
Sir?
Is he talking about films that's like in theaters or different, that he's done this in theaters or there's specific places where you can go see them?
Yes, the films are in theaters. They're actually in real movie theaters, yes. You can go to our website,
Listen up, Mark. He's talking.
.com, and you can see the list of theaters that...
I can't hear him. Hello?
Is he having trouble hearing me?
He said he is. Mark, can you hear him now?
I don't know why he would be.
I don't know. Maybe it's my connection.
It is.
And another thing, I'm going to listen to y'all's show because I can hear it on the radio. I'm going to listen to y'all's show
Right.
But 443-630-4023, 443-630-4023 is my number, because it was a guy he was talking about. He want to hook up with somebody that's want to do something with the community, and maybe you can get Lou's number out too. Okay?
All right, Mark. Thanks a lot. All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, so before we go to Shirley and
maybe taking phone calls was not such a bright second thought.
Right. So let's talk about race war, brother. So we got off the top, we got Bob Law and Kaba Kamini, and some officers and Judge Joe Brown. So some of the people that's in it that I may not have named.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to Judge Joe Brown or Jamu Baraka. We're talking to him. Yusuf Salam of the Central Park Five.
Right.
Rapper My Son. It's Lee Merritt. It's a long list of people they're in there. But I have to say, probably the most significant people in all reality are the white supremacists that we speak to. We speak to the two preeminent white supremacists in America right now, Richard Spencer and Jared Taylor. And I actually did the interview with Jared Taylor at Jared Taylor's house.
Okay.
And I got to tell you that he has as much Japanese memorabilia there as he does Confederate memorabilia, quite frankly, which is a lot, by the way.
Wow.
And as I always say about him, Jared Taylor is a very polite individual. He is extremely, I would dare say, obsessively polite, as a matter of fact. He's very effusive. He's excessively polite. Right up until you ask him about what are the differences between white people and black people.
All right.
Right up until you ask him that. Because I would dare say he's probably the most grandfatherly individual you could imagine. So you ask him that question, and then all of a sudden things change. Right. Then all of a sudden he's no longer a Garveyite. Then all of a sudden it's no longer about how great black people are. Then all of a sudden it turns to, well, you're genetically inferior, and so on and so forth. Then you see, okay, now we've been taking the cloak off, and we can see what's really underneath the surface there. So you have the polite white supremacist, Jared, and then you have the impolite white supremacist, Richard Spencer. I prefer my white supremacist straight, no chaser myself.
Right.
I prefer my white supremacists very honest. But in their case, like I say, those are the two I talk to who I consider to be most important, actually, because we as black people love the idea of guessing what white society thinks about us. We don't really want to know. We don't really want to hear. We just want to come up with caricatures and say, well, they hate us and that's it. That's not information. You need to understand the who, what, when, where, why, and how. They make an effort to understand us better than we understand ourselves. We do not make a similar effort to understand them better than they understand themselves. And guess who's winning? The people who are guessing or the people who know?
Yes. Good point. And I'm going to get Shirley in a second, so keep holding Shirley for just 1 second. But, you mentioned an interesting point about Jared Taylor. When I was in New York, because we had a discussion afterwards, a debate, if you will, with Kaba, with Jared Taylor. He actually showed, and he started talking about there was a little back and forth, and you all can see part of that online at, and I'll have the brother give out where you can see that particular part of it. But there was a discussion about IQs. And Kaba started talking about emotional intelligence, and I was like, that's it, because, and Jared Taylor didn't go that far in it. But did you get a sense that he was, looking back at these IQ tests and the big head, the big frame, the big brain, big skull theories of the 18th century?
When you talk about eugenics, yes.
Yes.
He's taking a look at all of that, and that's exactly what he's invoking. Jared Taylor is invoking that those things are actually accurate, which, of course, is absolute nonsense. And by the way, I did question him about that during the documentary. I did ask him about that, because the truth of the matter is, here's the little game that they play, Hockey. The little game that they play today is what they say is there are different IQ levels of intelligence. Oh, and white people are not the most intelligent people. So before you can say that, we're not saying we're the most intelligent. Asians are have the highest IQs. They're the most intelligent people. And white people are the second most intelligent. But what he doesn't tell you is that what they say is that Asians have an IQ of 105, white people at like 100, and black people at like 90 or 87. So you notice that gap between whites and Asians is rather small. The one between whites and blacks is a chasm. And that's the real point that you have to keep up with. When you start going into the details, you realize, no, this is the same old white supremacy we've been fed. But here's the other issue. You saw in the film where, okay, Asians have higher IQs. Asians are the preferred employees in Silicon Valley. To which you saw in the film, I asked him, well, if Asians are 40% of the employees and programmers in Silicon Valley, why are Asians not 40% of the executive management, CEOs, leadership of these companies?
Yes.
It's still only white men. To which Jared Taylor says, well, maybe they don't have the same dynamic skills, leadership skills. All of a sudden it becomes, well, maybe you don't. So at the end of the day, they can give you this token that, oh, you got a higher IQ. But then again, now you see it becomes ceremonial. They can see that you can have a higher IQ, but we're still going to run this thing. And the other part, if I can say really briefly, is they've got this, him and his kind have this philosophy of, when they say to you all IQ, and I didn't get to go into this in the film, maybe I'll go into this on the DVD, they're referring to that there are, when I left the part in the end there where he says there are different intelligences. So what he's referring to is now these guys try to speciate IQ and say that there are different kinds of IQ. What they will say is that black people have a higher athletic IQ. And I'm serious. Higher athletic. The places where we dominate, then they say, oh, well, black people have a higher athletic IQ and a higher musical IQ, he mentioned that, than white people do. Okay? Here's the real point for you to remember, though. An athletic IQ is not necessary to run the world. A musical IQ is not necessary to run the world. So once again, we've got these symbolic things. Well, you got a higher musical IQ than we do. Okay? But that still wouldn't preclude you from being subhuman. Because if he's saying that your cognitive intelligence and your intellectual capacity is lower than white people's, then that justifying that inferiority is what justifies every act of brutality, violence, and oppression against you. Haki, you cannot say that someone is your intellectual inferior and then say that this person has equal rights to you. You can't say that. And he knows that.
Yes, sir.
So once he says that you're intellectually inferior, he has just said, I have the right to come in, take your land, take your women, kill you and your children. That's where it ultimately leads. That's where it always leads. This is what their forefathers said. Exact same thing. We are intellectually superior, and we have this state of quasi-separation. But at the end of the day, because we are intellectually superior, it justifies whatever we want to do to you. And that's where this always leads.
Absolutely. All right, let me go ahead and take this call from Sister Shirley. Let's see what she has to say. All right, Shirley, you are on.
Well, I'm calling because Lou Fields had asked in.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm calling because Lou Fields had asked me to call in.
Okay. We apologize. Can you call us back if you could at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock?
Sure can.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. Sorry about that. Let's get Hassan on. All right, Brother Hassan.
How y'all doing today?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I just want to commend the brother for he's on point. That the guest that you have on there, he's saying everything correctly, saying a lot of things that a lot of people won't say that I say myself, and I tend to lose friendships and connections with people because sometimes they don't want to hear the reality of it all. Like the brother said, black people, we want to guess about how white people feel about us or any other race feels about us, even each other, you know. And the one thing that every race has in America, and I tell people this all the time, well, actually the two things, and I hate to say one of them is a bad thing, but it's the truth. one thing is everybody has unity except African Americans. And another thing is every race has a mafia. And I'm sorry to say that, family, but we don't have a mafia. And every race, from Koreans to Indians to whites to Jewish people, all of them have a mafia, and they take care of their communities. And regardless, we got drugs in our communities. They don't.
Well,
you know, and they own every business in our communities, and we ain't owning no business in their communities.
Other ethnic groups,
America is ran by mafia.
Other ethnic groups have an enforcement mechanism.
Hassan, hold up. He's answering. Can you hear him?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Other ethnic groups have an enforcement mechanism within their societies. Black people are the only people who do not have an organized enforcement mechanism. These other groups were brought over as immigrants. They had enforcement mechanisms where they were. Mm-hmm. And they brought them over with them because, as you all know, even the Italian mafia, La Cosa Nostra, came from Italy. It didn't form here.
Right.
They brought the Italian mafia with them. The Russians, they brought the Russian mafia with them. The Mexicans, they brought the Mexican mafia with them. The Asians, they brought the Yakuza with them. Black people were brought over as sparse, separate groups, disparate groups from different areas. We didn't bring an organized culture, thus we did not bring an enforcement mechanism with us. Mm-hmm. So when these things go wrong, we don't have an internal enforcement mechanism. We wind up having to go to white society and beg them to invoke the enforcement mechanism, which, of course, they're not going to invoke any enforcement mechanism that helps us. They're only going to invoke one that helps themselves. So until we get our economy together, as even if it's a small group among us, mm-hmm. when we form that economic nucleus, we can start calling hands. Mm. We can start benefiting our friends and punishing our enemies, both outside and inside the society. Once we get to that point, then we can do that. So, yes, having an enforcement mechanism within black society would definitely do wonders for us, because right now there is no penalty for betraying the group. Mm. There's no penalty in black society for betraying other black people or for betraying our interests. You know, in white society, if you go off code, you'll lose your job, you lose your house, you lose your friends. They can punish you severely. Same thing among Latinos and Asians. In black society, you can have an Omarosa, you can have a Tiger Woods, you can have a Bill Cosby, who can go for a decade preaching against black males. And unless white people show up to punish him, there isn't really a punishment mechanism.
Right. Well, hey, Hassan, I want you to go to Race War Movie, racewarmovie.com, and look at the trailer and share it on your page, please.
I will.
And the movie is showing tonight in D.C., 7 p.m. You can click on tickets to view it and share it. Hopefully, I'm definitely going to be there at 7 p.m. Hopefully, if you can make it, get somebody else to come out with you. It'd be good to meet you there, brother. I'm going to go ahead and drop this, try to get some of these callers, brother. I'm sorry.
I got one acronym I just want to put out for all of us, brother.
Sure.
I made it up, and it's big.
Go ahead, real quick.
If everybody can listen, just hashtag ABLE. ABLE, we are black people. ABLE stands for All Black Love Everywhere. That's the acronym. We need to get it out there.
All Black Love Everywhere. Y'all. Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Gene. We're going to try to get to him real fast, brother Jason.
Yeah, okay. How you doing, brothers? Yeah, I just want to mention eugenics, and the main component of eugenics, if you would agree, is sterilization. And and I want to mention that that is a component of eugenics is sterilization, and that the intelligence was the word moron came out of that in 1903, and they gave intelligence tests. But what they did was they switched up on us after we were able to intermarry with white people, and then we became the threat. And the last component is basically that they're saying that bad parenting is also a reason to do things to us. So I just wanted to bring it up, and I'm glad you're bringing up eugenics. It's a conversation that we don't have, that often on WOLB, and I'm glad you guys are bringing it up.
Yeah, well, I'm a little different. I bring some real consciousness, and I listen to people like Jason Black, and you should start listening too. And all of Baltimore need to start listening to this brother who's been putting out these documentaries, and he does a broadcast as well. So
keep up the good work, and I appreciate you guys.
all right, Gene. Yeah, Jason. We don't get this type of consciousness on a regular basis here, so it's just perfect time. And I tried to be strategic. I don't preach to some people anymore because sometimes you're preaching to dead people. Just honestly.
You've been steadfast about this, and you've been very consistent about this for a while, and you've definitely been very helpful with our projects and our endeavors. So your credentials are pretty much solidified on that end.
Thank you, brother. So let me go to this Tyrus first and see what we have. Tyrus, you up?
I'm up.
What's going on? Welcome.
Hi, I'm from Kenner, Louisiana.
Welcome.
Louisiana boy, just like Jason.
Yes, sir.
And I was just wondering, even in Louisiana where you experience racism head up, it's still hard to convince black people that we're in a race war. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, how can I go about convincing people that we are in a war?
In a race war. It's not hard to convince anyone. Every black person everywhere knows the deal. There is not a single black person in this country or on this planet who does not know what's going on and doesn't understand it. Case in point, when Clarence Thomas was running for the Supreme Court and they tried to block him, he said it's a high-tech lynching. As soon as he was approved, ain't no racism. Tiger Woods, when they wouldn't let him go to Augusta, he did that Nike commercial. There are places I can't play because of the color of my skin. As soon as he was able to play in Augusta, I'm Caucasian. Black people play this game among ourselves. Skip Gates, ain't no racism. As soon as the police came and arrested him in his own house, this is racism. They brought him to the White House with the cop who arrested him. Ain't no racism again. This is a game that we play among ourselves as black people, that somehow if we just ignore white supremacy, pretend it's not there, then racism is somebody else's problem. So I can sum it up like this. Every black person understands that racism exists, and there are only two types of black people on the planet: those who understand that racism exists and fight it, and those who understand that racism exists and go back to picking the cotton. Those are the two groups of black people you have. White people play dumb about racism. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, bless her soul, said this. White people play dumb about racism, but black people love to play dumb along with them. So white folk pretend there's no racism while they're whooping on you, and black folk pretend there's no racism while they're getting whooped on, with the idea that, well, if I just keep my head low and go about my business, I found some secret strategy that will make me immune. There is no secret strategy. And the idea that you think there is, that's the problem. So what do we do about it? Brother, we do what we're doing right here.
Right.
Because understand something. The conversation that we're having right now, they were not doing this on the radio 10 years ago. They weren't doing it 7 years ago. You had sparse little pockets. But a film like Race War opening nationwide, that wasn't going on. We're just now getting to a point in 2018 where we are openly and honestly talking about what's in black people's interest in a black agenda. So what do we do about it? We do what we're doing right now. And this conversation will spread everywhere and will become more commonplace. And eventually the race war deniers are going to find themselves with no room to breathe, which is where they should be, because the facts are going to trump them. They are cowards. We are the courageous. And courage beats cowardice every time.
Ashe. Yeah. All right, Tyrus. Well, we appreciate you, brother. Black First. And you going to see the film?
I donated to the film, and I got my DVD on the way, but I'm not able to drive up there.
Right.
And take off from the job.
All right, brother. Well, hopefully we can bring it somewhere close to you. All right. So let's get Brother Muhammad up. But before we get Brother Muhammad up, let me ask you this, brother Jason. Has Roland Martin, the advocate, the black conscious leader, reached out to you at any time to, any of your films, or tweeted about it or posted?
No, Roland Martin. Roland Martin is looking for another job, is what Roland is doing.
All right.
As far as the old black media, Roland is just looking to see if he can get a part-time gig in headline news. He's got bigger issues to worry about than us.
Right.
Like the rent.
All right. Well, I know you got a lot out there on Roland Martin, but I had to, give him a little, whipping. So, for being who he is. But let's get Brother Muhammad up, bro. Brother Muhammad, is this a good Brother Muhammad? Is this a friendly Brother Muhammad?
Well, I think all people with the name is Muhammad friendly.
Well, right? Some of them, I don't know about.
Alhamdulillah, that's a powerful name in my culture.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali, yeah.
Oh no, I agree. I agree that you got some folk they a little little funny, but.
Well, the fact that you're bringing that up is sectarianism. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't do that.
Oh, okay, brother. I'm just saying. I mean, you got to self-correct some of them.
That's a negative, brother. That's a negative.
All right, can you make your point?
That's comparable to backbiting.
In Baltimore, folk know what I'm talking about. So you got another point?
Yeah, I've been following this. I've been following this video right now on YouTube. I've seen a couple of trailers on YouTube.
Great.
And you say it's going to drop nationally?
Today.
Yes, today in D.C.
Yeah, well, I can hear him faint. I can hear him, but it's real faint. But the question I wanted to pose to you, brother, first of all, thank you for your work, okay? If nobody else appreciates it, I do, okay? Let me see. What do you think what do you hope to get from the national projection of this film? What type of solution you expect from it? And one more question. What is the solution to this race war? They always have been a race war, just intensified, right?
What I'm hoping for will happen is that black people will actually have a real media outlet that's actually discussing these issues. The media outlets that black people pay attention to watch are owned by white people. And while that in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, these media outlets owned by them operate in their interests only, while pretending that they're somehow giving some side venue to us. So we need media outlets that are owned by black people, that when you talk about white supremacists in this way, when you talk about America as having a white supremacist culture, I spoke about this before, when you have films by Michael Moore, nothing wrong with Michael. However, generally what white people do when they talk to white supremacists, they don't talk to black people as the counter to it in these films. They talk to white people about they talk to white supremacists about white supremacy. Then they go talk to some white professor or some white journalist about the counter to the white supremacists. They don't come and talk to us. So now you have a film where I talk to the white supremacists, and then I go talk to black people to get their response to what the white supremacists have said about black people, as opposed to going to white people to get their response about what the white supremacists have said to black people. So that's the first thing.
Okay,
Second
great.
I want to make sure that I have
is that real revolutionary consciousness, though? Is that real revolutionary consciousness in practice?
Okay. Can I ask the caller a question? How old are you?
How old are you, Brother Muhammad?
How old am I?
Yes, sir.
Well, I grew up in the 70s.
Okay. I was just asking your age, sir. How old are you?
I'm 61.
Okay. That explains a lot.
What does it explain, sir? And I was greatly honored by being introduced to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, alayhi wasallam, and his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Garvey.
The problem we have, Hockey. The problem we have with old Negroes.
What you laughing for? You think this funny?
No, when you said Prophet Noble Drew Ali, man, you out of here.
Y'all ain't serious about liberation.
Man, I don't have time for that card. Get your card stuff, man. Get out of here with that. I don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. We absolutely don't have time for no get your card. Show the white supremacists a card. He must have got this confused.
Status correction people. You have to understand.
Yeah. That's what he was coming with.
If I can very briefly explain that, because you understand this, as black men, brother, white supremacy is a big beast.
Right.
That thing, it's a ferocious beast. It's tough to tangle with. And the way you're going to have to beat it is going to be difficult. And what happens is that individuals like that guy, they know that they don't really have the intellectual or socioeconomic capacity to truly deal with white supremacy. So what they do is they regress and resort to coping mechanisms. You need to get your card. You need to get your status corrected. As if this society cares about a card or a status. Your status is black, period. So what he's doing is he's reverting to what his small amount of courage and smaller intellect are able to wrap themselves around, because he understands he doesn't really have the skills or the capability to deal with this beast. After 6 decades of walking this earth, he's still asking, what do we do about white supremacy? After 6 decades of walking this earth. At this point, what do we do with fellas like him? We write him off. He's lost. I need to talk to people who understand what to do.
Right. Let's get Roderick up. Let's get Roderick up, engineer. Roderick. What's going on, Roderick? Roderick.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear, bro.
Yeah, I would like to thank you, first of all, for bringing your guest on. He's having a very relevant, intelligent conversation.
Thank you.
I'm 67 years old. I grew up during the 60s, and I've always studied the history and culture of so-called black people in America. And I studied all those different philosophies and ideologies from Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers. Oh, I did a lot of reading. I came from being an 8th grade dropout to I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and anthropology.
Okay.
So, and I now study with the Hebrew Israelites, and there is going to be a race war according to the Bible.
Okay.
Between blacks and whites. Now, do you remember the incident? The white guy went into a black church down in South Carolina and shot the people up.
Yes, sir. We were.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
that was one indication of a race war coming. He said he wanted to start a race war. How about we go way back to the 60s? Charles, that guy with the hippies, Charles Manson. He wanted to start a race war between blacks and whites. So, and there's a lot of other incidents that happen, that indicate that we are going into a race war. The Bible tells us that there's going to be a race war.
Actually, what's outside my window tells me that we're already in a race war.
We're already in a race war. But hey, brother, excuse me for cutting you off. I got to get this in very fast. A lot of our people are so concerned about loving white people and being accepted by white people that they don't really understand that there are two types of racism, covert and overt. Now, the racists, the white supremacists that come out and say they hate black people are not as dangerous as the white people who say that they love black people, but yet they pass policies and support policies that discriminate against black people.
Well, discrimination is not really a big issue there, to be totally honest. The real issue is that black people as a group are refusing to acknowledge that this is even occurring. It is not about flying bullets.
Hey, brother, you haven't even explained your movies, but I'm going to see your movies.
Sure.
And I guarantee that most of the people that attack you for making that movie is going to be black people, because they want to love white people. They want to assimilate with white people. They want to integrate with white people. They don't want to face the fact that white people hate them.
No offense at all. A lot of these older black males love to talk to hear themselves talk, and that's one of the biggest problems we have.
Hey, I appreciate you making the movies like the movies, and I'm going to go see it. Right. God willing. God let me live long enough.
Right. So go to racewarmovie.com, racewarmovie.com. And Brother Jason, do you want to put out any other, like your page or anything?
Well, the video that you were talking about before, where there's the Q&A session from New York.
Right.
You can go to my YouTube channel, TBA, just the letters TBA, and you'll see the picture of Eldridge Cleaver. You click on that, and you'll see the video.
I didn't get that last information. Can I call back and get it later?
So.
Yeah, just call back. Leave your number, bro.
No,
okay, all right. Thank you for taking my call.
No, don't call back.
Right, don't call back on here, but we'll give out. Repeat that for those that are out there that, I apologize for not getting them off, but
take the month off.
We'll get Roderick off as well. Go ahead and give out your YouTube information again.
My YouTube page, I've got 2 YouTube channels. The one with the video that you're referring to is TBA. So you can go to that one on YouTube, and you can see the Q&A from the Race War screening. You can type that in the search bar also, Q&A from Race War screening New York, and that'll bring it up with the roundtable discussion that was put up there as well. And that's got about 30 minutes of it that you can see there.
Right.
The rest of it will be on the DVD when it, the 3-disc version of the DVD when it comes out, because there's going to be one with just the movie on it.
Right.
And then there's going to be one with a bunch of extras that I was not able to include in the movie version.
Oh, great. All right, so let's you know, in the next couple of minutes, brother, you know, I know you know, getting ready and gearing up. I don't want to, you know, take too much time here. So anything else you think that the listening audience should know about you or this particular film, or anything else you want to share, and we'll you know, kind of let you go, and we'll, you know, keep the conversation going. But go ahead.
Well, if I had one last thing to say about it,
Sure.
what I would say is that the idea that we are going to be able to hide from this issue, the idea that it's not really happening, those are not options for us. They never have been.
Mm-hmm.
Black people play this game only with ourselves. And if you'll recall here, we thought the most dangerous president we saw was Reagan, and that was 30-something years ago. Did you really believe that with a much smaller white population and 30 years after Reagan, you could have somebody to the right of Reagan after your first so-called black president? That's your proof right there that there is a race war, there is an assault, there is a conflict. We are the targets, and whether we're looking for a fight doesn't matter. This fight's looking for you. So everyone, I want you to go to our website, racewarmovie.com. I know it's not Black Panther. I know it's not the escapism of Wakanda. Your children know more about a comic book fictional character than they do about the police in the streets killing them. And that, if you are a parent who's taking your child to see Black Panther and has not taken them to see Race War, I'm going to say that you're guilty of parental negligence.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. I agree, brother. So definitely. Well, we appreciate your time, brother. You know, you got a big day, you know, coordinating and organizing this. So again, not going to prolong. You know, I'll see those that are coming, consciously coming in I was in New York, but in DC tonight at 7 p.m. So go to racewar.com to get racewarmovie.com to get your tickets. I will hope to see you all in D.C. And it was good to hear you longer on Carl Nelson Show, Brother Jason, and look forward to seeing Sam as well. Shout out to Brother Sam. He's on his way or coming tonight as well.
Love him. That's my dude.
All right. So thank you very much, brother. And Black first, brother.
Black first, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. All right. So my